right, y'all. It is the Civic Second on the conduit. So glad that you can join us today. We've got a packed show for you. Lots of great information. This is going to be a fantastic show. As you know, we're changing up our format a little bit because covering the city council meetings is already like a 2.5 hour endeavor. And having a conversation after that, we're already fatigued. We don't really have time to process the information. So, what we are going to do is this new format. So, I will cover the city council meetings as much as I can, and then we'll have that discussion. So, the great thing is you can access the city council meetings in a variety of different formats. So you're okay there, but you want to make sure that you catch this conversation on the other side of it as we do our deep dive. And I hope that you find it as informative and fun as I do. So I definitely love it. Definitely type any questions or comments that you have in the chat. This is an interactive show, so we don't want to talk at you. We want to talk with you, and hopefully, educate and share information and show you where you can get resources and critically think and all those really good things. But anyway, let me go ahead and bring on the star of the show. There we go. How you doing there, Jeff? Jeff doesn't have any audio. We've been working on this stuff on the back end. Now he's got a super strong signal and no audio, but we got camera now. You know, you don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Is that working?
That is working. How you doing there, sir?
Good. If my technical difficulties keep going, I may just walk over to your place and
we know what you're close enough.
Almost, I think, yeah. But let's see how this
actually,
goes.
You are close. You're like what? Not even an eighth of a mile away.
Yeah.
Probably take you less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So just letting everyone know that we had a really we got a good show for them all set up. And we're going to go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to type something to you really quick in the private chat really fast before we get started there.
Okay.
All right. Now, and we've got an outline for you because Jeff is very organized, which I really can appreciate. And so you'll be able to see what we're talking about, and we'll have some videos and some things to go along with that. So let me go ahead and pull that on up. Uh-oh. There you go.
Oh, good. Thank goodness.
no worries. I could pull you back up from the back end there.
Okay. So yeah, I can just.
Now, do you see the chat in there?
Yep. And I do know Liz.
All right. Hey, Liz, how are you doing?
Nice to meet you finally. I've watched you, spied on you.
They call it ninja watching, when people watch in the background, but they don't comment or chat or subscribe. So I appreciate you. We tell people briefly a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name's Liz. Last name's Tulai. I moved up here about a year ago. Raised in Southern California, and then spent some time in Missouri. Tried another part of the country, and then my sister's up here, so I moved up to be close to her and just building connections. And I got an awesome job up here, which I really love, and I'm really liking Bremerton. Reminds me of a mini St. Louis.
Oh, nice. A mini St. Louis, huh?
Sort of the activism and the core meeting and such. So yeah, so I'm really glad to be starting to build community here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I love it. The more the merrier. Just adds to our discussion and enriches the experience. So thank you for joining, and it's a pleasure to meet you. I just responded to you there in the chat there, Jeff. All right. So let me go ahead and pull up our outline here.
And also, I have to say, I sent out the link to this. So if I sent out I don't know if there's a link for they're all the same way. You know,
You cut out there for a second. You said you sent out the link where?
for this, but I may. Me, it says it's dropped.
Yeah, I think it's definitely on your side, Jeff, as far as the internet is concerned. Because Liz was coming through loud and clear,
Let me turn it down.
crisp and clean with no caffeine.
No, I got my caffeine.
Wait, don't you remember those old, what is that, 7-Up commercials? Crisp and clean with no caffeine. Ha 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 ha.
Oh yes.
I'm older than I look.
I can't tell when this is working or when it's not working.
It's working now.
Oh, so seriously, Martin, do you want me to come over to your place? I can bring my laptop. We can take a few minute break. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, come on through. Let me.
So if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, do you know where I live?
Text me your address.
I'll put it in the chat right now.
Okay, and I'll just head over with my laptop, and all right, we'll do it that way.
I'm literally right next to the college.
Cool. See you in a few minutes.
All right, you got it.
All right, bye.
Well, Liz, you know what? You and I can chat, and that
Oh,
gives
okay.
me.
Well, he's driving.
Yeah.
Yes, he even left his apartment.
That gives me the ability to talk about something that Jeff and I did last week, which was we sent an email to City Council. And I don't know if you watched the show last week or not, but, one of the things that we want to do, and one of the reasons why I created the Conduit in the first place was to elevate voices, right? Conduit is metaphorically, I guess, and not metaphorically, like both ways, is, bi-directional, right? Two ways of flowing of communication, thoughts, ideas, and whatnot. And so oftentimes, we call it legacy media, mainstream media, folks that are in power, the predominant thought, cultural thought, those things kind of rise to the surface, but there are other thoughts that are out there. And so we want to be able to share those perspectives, right? So we may not exist on, it doesn't matter where we exist, but whether you're, on one side of the polar, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for, but if you're on one side of the extreme or the other, there are other things all up in the middle, and the people in the middle, I think, could kind of get lost. And so we want to kind of elevate those voices and ideas all the way across the spectrum, right? And so that's what it is. And so when it comes to homelessness, which is, a big thing for Jeff, and I would assume probably yourself also, we have conversations where directors and program managers and folks that work in the fields will come on, but we're not able to elevate the voices of those that are experiencing homelessness. And so that's very important for me to do. And I learned quite a lesson yesterday, as we haven't been serving downtown in the last few years because of COVID. We started doing our food delivery mobily, and so going out to Port Orchard and to some other places. And so, while the folks could be appreciative of doing a barbecue for them, they weren't appreciative of the cameras and the microphones. They're like, well, what's going on here? Are you spying on us? What's happening? And so you get a whole gambit of distrust that they have. And, it's definitely a learning experience because you're there wanting to help them, and they're looking at it like, who are you? And this seems dangerous and we don't trust this. So, building that relationship is important. And so it definitely would have helped some of the folks that were scheduled to be there, couldn't be there, that have those relationships with those folks on a daily basis or more than I do, which would have helped bridge that gap. Like, no, these people are here, to serve you and do have your best interests at heart. And so we were able to, I think at the end of the day, we created that. And so none of that stuff ended up on camera, but, I ended up talking with individuals probably for about 2.5 hours,
That's right.
and just
Yeah.
reconnecting. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, definitely. Building that relationship, that foundational is absolutely important. I work in early childhood ed, and I work with Native tribes, and that generational trauma and such. And the first thing I needed to do, being new to the community, being white, and all of that, was that build that relationship and allow space for those parents to know that I'm there for them,
Mhm.
and then that their children can be entrusted with me. And yeah, absolutely build those relationships, because these are people who have been traumatized over and over and over and over again, and their daily life is trauma. So yeah, just getting in there and listening first, and use those 2 ears, and just being a part of them and building that relationship. So absolutely, yeah. So yeah.
So I love that. So what we ended up doing was, in our last show, Jeff and I decided to send an email to city council, and we did it live on air so people can see. And I'm just going to pull that email up here.
And I'm going to clean my glasses and do it the old auntie way and rub it on a shirt.
And so let me go ahead and pull up.
Okay.
This is the most recent one here. No, not that one. It's got to be this one. City council. Where is my actual response here? Number 2. All right. So here was my original email that Jeff and I composed. Good evening. I would like to advocate for those who do not have access to a phone, computer, and or internet. I would like to allow those to share my computer to provide a public comment at city council meetings. Can they each provide their 3-minute comment one after another using my login? Thank you for your consideration. Me. And so the response came. Now this was, during the show, so 8:49 Wednesday night, and we got a response on Friday, which I was really surprised. So 1, this is right before the 4th of July weekend. 2, as you'll read in here, they needed to consult their attorney and the IT manager, which could take days, right? Honestly.
Right.
But they responded it. So they say, thank you for your email. First, it is commendable that you are advocating for those who do not have phones, computers, and the internet. Please note that citizens may also submit comment through written letters, either hand delivered or sent through the U.S. mail. Right now, I kind of felt some kind of way about that because it's like, all right, so now they have stamps. Okay, we're talking about being accessible, but okay.
Yeah.
I try to include the name of each individual person providing comment during the meeting. Hope is that there would be an organized way for each person to identify themselves one at a time prior to submitting the comment. And I think I should have read that. I checked with both the city attorney and the IT manager, and they do not see a legal or technical problem with allowing multiple persons to provide comment under one login. Council President Michael Goodnow commented that he thinks one person may speak, then add that another person or persons would also like to comment. I also heard last night from a little birdie that Michael Goodnow was inquiring about me behind the scenes. So definitely making some waves there. They may re-enter the queue, put hand down, and then raise or go to the next if no one is waiting. The council members are always happy to encourage citizen involvement. Lastly, note that the resolution was passed by council establishing that due to the rise in COVID cases at this time, meetings will continue to be held virtually through July 20 with a plan to reassess at that time. Thank you for your inquiry. So we're going to go ahead and start doing that. So we'll start to organize that. Jeff is looking for a location that will allow us to kind of set up on the inside. We don't need a big setup, just a laptop and Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
And for folks that want to elevate their voices, they can come in and actually give their 3 minutes. So we're super excited about that.
Yeah, this is amazing because actually one of the things that I had come to me, and it just might come to me like I'm some sort of prophet, but it's just like, sometimes ideas float around and it landed on you and it's like, yay. So when I heard you doing that and saw you guys typing the letter, I'm like, it's taken care of. There we go. So fantastic. Yeah, definitely raising their voices because it impacts them. And so their lived experience.
And Liz, what the thing is so I have a saying that I don't say it very often now because we're in different kind of conversations, but I say power is taken, it's not given, right? If you're waiting for someone to give you power, then it's not really power because they could take it back at any time.
Yeah.
And so you really have to be your own advocate. And it's like you're not gonna know if you don't ask. Maybe the answer is no, but you'll never know if you don't at least try. So and folks need other people to advocate for them. So
yes,
we're looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good one. It really is a good one.
So tell me, how long have you been in Bremerton?
Almost a year. Moved up last year about this time. About this time last year, I was making moving plans. So and then the year sort of just flew by with COVID and getting to know work and waiting for some meeting groups to meet up. So just about the past 2 months, I've been kind of emerging a little bit more.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so when you're coming to a new place, right? What impassions you to get involved in this particular sector? I mean, there's so many things to be passionate about. And only being here, some people live here 20, 30 years and they don't really get involved in any kind of local issues. And here you are, like already like, hey, what can I do? How can I help?
Being aware that it's not just a community problem. This is a nationwide problem, but helping out on a micro level because then it affects the macro. That's really important. And it's like, advocating for those that don't have people advocating for themselves and speaking up for those in the most part that need it the most. So helping in that way, but without, again, empowering others to be able to speak up for themselves and creating that space for them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what it is. Just being aware of what's going on and not being able to sit back. Gee, I wish I could,
but well, awesome, Liz. I have a knock at my door, so this must be Jeff. Let me go ahead and answer that.
All right. I'm going to take a few bites of my lunch.
All right, guys. So we're going to let Jeff in, and we're going to get set up. So you'll be able to see and hear everything as it's happening. Come in there, Jeff. Hold on 1 second. How you doing, sir? Oh, you're all good. Let me reorganize this so we can make the show work for all of us. Well, no, we're still live. Everyone can see us. They might as well see how the sausage is made there. And let me turn off my alarm because I haven't opened my front door today before it starts going off. All right. We don't want that. Hey, that's it. And if you want, what I'll do is you can use this table and have this one here for you. So if you watch some of the other shows, like I do Cameron's Kitchen in here, so you can see like we got lights in there, so it'll illuminate the kitchen. So we do lots of crazy shows in here. So good. Go ahead and talk to the mic there. Oh.
Does that work?
Sounds good to me.
I'm not used to working with a microphone.
Nice. I'm a wireless.
Wow, I'm realizing this is pushing me way out of my comfort level, but but that's all right. I'll make it.
Hey, this is fun.
Yeah. shy person.
Oh, really?
People probably wouldn't know. Oh. Can I connect your end?
Yep. It is my last name. That you'll see on there, and that's the password. And I had a guest login set, so when I started this organization, G2, it was in here. So the living room was a computer lab. Kids would come over. Some of the folks are older than me. They would come over at lunchtime. We would sell lunches for $5. You know, nice. They'd come and do the homework and get help. You know, and then we got the space downtown. And I was like, oh, great! I get my house back. Had my house back for a while. Well, I was doing crazy stuff like letting some folks maybe do their house arrest here because they didn't have a residence to do house arrest. Otherwise, they'd have to stay in jail. I've done some pretty kooky things trying to help folks.
Set a wire.
Why?
See, the nice thing about this format is people can just fast forward through this part.
Well, if I ever get any help, I'll be able to have folks edit and cut that out.
So don't need this microphone.
Oh, it's still good because it'll still be a little bit better.
Okay.
1 2 1 2. Yeah, let me. I'll come over there and do it there.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and talk to me.
Okay. Speaking. Oh, there's Liz.
Play
again.
How does he sound, Liz?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You hear him pretty well? You hear him pretty good?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll keep talking. I guess it'd be easier.
Okay. That should have did it. All right, got one more mic to set up. I'll get the camera. Let me take the blur my background off so we can actually see us a little better there. Take off our virtual background there. There we go. Much clearer. We dial in our camera here. Make sure we get Jeff's lovely face there. Really nice.
Yeah. Scaring people away, man. I want to grab my water.
Perfect. All right. And I want a computer. He gets a computer. I want a computer. Let me grab mine. Oh, well, you know what? I could teach you how to do this piece, and then you can control that since you've got your laptop.
Oh.
That'd be perfect.
All right.
But you don't have dual screen, so there is that.
Do you have a pen, by the way?
I do.
Old style writing utensil. Perfect. All right, I'm glad we got to go forward with the show. There's too much good stuff.
Yeah, no, there is. So what I'll do is I'll keep working in the background.
Okay.
And I need to change this so you can actually hear Liz. That's not going to be great, right? If you can't hear what she's saying, what's going on there? All right, so we are getting ready to get in here. We definitely appreciate your patience. For sure. So I am a new Mac user, and I have not drunk the Kool-Aid like everyone else. So, everything they say about Windows is true, but everything they say about the Mac is not true. It is not the best thing since sliced bread. Go ahead, let's say something so I can hear you there.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. You're pretty low there. Let me see if I can get you turned up. Let me turn you up there. Go ahead and keep talking there, Liz, for me.
Okay, is that any better?
Yeah, tell me about, you said you have family here in the area?
Sister, she's in Port Orchard,
She's in Port Orchard.
and a cat. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you were saying, tell us again about what you do for OESD. Is that who you work for?
No, I work for the Suquamish tribe.
Suquamish tribe. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, I work for the Early Childhood Center, and I'm a teacher with Early Head Start. So
Okay.
I got the little 2 and 3-year-olds.
Nice. So
Yeah.
what made you want to do that?
Oh, I've been doing early childhood education for many years. When I lived in Southern California, one of my first jobs
All this technology.
in my youth was working at a children's museum. So then I was like, oh, you can really do this professionally? So I was like, yeah, I'll play with kids all day. So it's evolved. It's evolved from half-day little church-related preschools to different daycares, and now with a public program. And I really like where I am now because it just sort of it's more than just playing with kids. It's shaping families and being supportive of them and being supportive of a community as well. So really happy to be
I
there.
can barely hear you. He's working on the background there. I'm
All right. I'm trying. I turned down some of the volume. Let me
I need you to be able
see.
to hear what she's saying.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to give you some headphones.
Uh-oh. What happened there? Something happened.
Pop those bad boys on. Yeah, we need to be able to hear you. All right, let's go ahead and talk so he can hear you.
Okay, is that any better?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Cool.
Okay, I turned up my volume too.
All right. So now let's go ahead and jump on in. The water is fine. Thank you so much for your patience there.
It's just that your things. Does that mean we're offline or no? Because I can hear.
We're online behind you too.
Oh, all right.
I don't know what's going on up there.
Right.
There's monitors everywhere.
Okay, cool. Oh, this is so much fun. I hope everybody's enjoying this as much as I'm here.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started in earnest. I'm going to go right on into getting up our information here so that we can start and have an educational experience here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with the quick summary of the mayor consent agenda. And all these links, Jeff, you were saying was accessible somewhere?
Yeah, I was going to say, can you put that link in the
chat?
In the chat somewhere.
Absolutely.
And if you go to YouTube, how do I send that to you here? Let's see.
So I'm going to put the link to the chat.
If you link to my YouTube channel, I don't know if you can get to it.
Yeah, just type it in that private chat there, and I can pull it up.
Oh, I don't have that on here. Shoot.
Oh, you're not in there? Oh, you don't have that on there. Just send it to me through Facebook Messenger.
If I log on from here, will that create problems?
Yeah, because it'll give us audio feedback and some other stuff.
Yeah, okay.
So the meeting documents are there, the minutes, so you can take a look at that. And is this the YouTube you wanted me to show?
I can't see. Let's see. Here, I'll send it to you real quick. I got you up on
the public comment with Dennehy?
No, I was just going to show the link to that where that video is. There's a channel you can subscribe to.
Oh yeah.
If you get to that channel, to put the link to the channel, and I just wanted to kind of show everybody. There's just so what this is this I go in and I cut up all the city council meetings into more bite-sized chunks.
Mm-hmm.
Trying not to edit people out, although I do have a few that I edit out for just cut down to what I think is a core statement, or I put those in as bonus tracks. I call them. But anyways, but there's a lot of so people can go in. So I have them set up so that if you want to see a particular city council members' comments, you can go in and look at their comments specifically. Anyways, just so that's just another resource for you to catch up on what's going on in city council if you want.
Oh, I like it. And did you send that to me through Messenger?
No, not yet, because I realize I don't have any of the links on this computer I have at home, so I'm trying to. Yeah, let me find it.
Well, I can. Oh, this is part one. So as Jeff is pulling that up, one thing that I think would be helpful too is, obviously we have the things that are passionate and important to us, and a lot of this is predicated based on the city council meeting, right? That's kind of where our discussion kind of launches from. But if there are other things that you are interested in or important to you, please share those. Because there are clearly things that we're not aware of that probably need some clarity, some elevation, and some light on it. So I'm more than happy to talk about that. I think those things are important. All right, bam, just came through.
Try that link. That should get you into the channel.
All right, so I'm gonna pull up Jeff's channel here, and I'm also gonna put that in the link for you so that you can subscribe, like, share, and hit that reminder button every time he puts up a new video that you have access to it.
Yeah, and so this week I put videos up of the main city council meeting, just clips of it, and as well as clips from the safety committee, which is a newly reformed, committee that we'll talk about here in a second.
All right, so here is Jeff's channel. It's called Bremerton City Council Citizens Archive. And I'm going to put that link in the chat so that you can subscribe to it. And which one do you want me to click on there, Jeff?
Okay, well, first thing, let's go to that this link. Let me send you this one. We're going to be going through a few of these videos, but how do I do this? Copy. Okay. Let me send you this one. We're getting this down.
All right.
And so this is the meeting packet that has all the information. Again, I just wanted to show people. Whoops. Okay, go to the Bremerton City Council website.
Got to be in my favorites here somewhere.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you some sources for these before we get.
All right, just tell me where to go.
Yeah, in meeting archives. Do you see it's meeting archives like a little bit further down?
All right, here we go. Videos and archives. They've got BCAT. They've got meeting archives webpage.
Yes.
All right, agendas, packets, media, minutes.
And so the packet, a lot of this, some of this information I'm going to be showing comes from the packet. So if you want to download and see the whole complete packet, it's in there. That's all I really wanted to show with this.
Oh, okay. Oh, and you can go all the way back to December of 2011.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like those are the videos, but if you go to the actual meeting packets, so.
Oh, it's here.
Okay. Yep. So anyway, so that's where you can get into the real details that I'll be mentioning later. Okay, so the meetings, the city council meeting started with the mayor's report. I'll just jump into this now that I've shown you all the sources, and people are like, Jeff, just get on with it. So the mayor's first, the agenda is the mayor gives his report, and then there's the consent agenda. So quick report on the mayor's report. He didn't say all that much, in my opinion, other than that we are just raking in the bucks. He always says we are raking it. Well, he didn't say we're raking in the bucks, but he shows that we're bringing a lot of money for permits and all sorts of stuff, millions of dollars. Very impressive. I think that's great. I'm more interested in talking about, or I'm interested in how those funds are then going to be used. And I think that's where, but kudos to collecting the taxes in the first place, I guess. Okay, the consent agenda. Oh, shoot. I don't have my spreadsheet with me. Darn it.
Is it what you sent to me?
Maybe.
Let me try to pull that up here. Minimize that. This here.
Did I send you a spreadsheet? I don't know if I sent you a spreadsheet.
It wasn't a spreadsheet. It was the outline.
Oh, yeah. So, well, I'm sorry. Okay, so, all right. Well, I'll be better prepared next time. But I had a spreadsheet that showed the total cost of the total cost of all the items that are on the consent agenda. And I was going to have you guess, how much do you think that they just spent in that consent agenda? And now I'm going to have to remember the number, I guess.
Well, now I'm wondering, how much was it?
It was like $600,000, $600,000 to $700,000.
Wow.
And all for good stuff. There's a sewer contract. I was gonna show you the sewer contract a little bit. There's also in the agenda notes, or in the meeting notes, you can also, one thing that had come up was, well, how do these go out for bids? Are these things going out for bids? And like, if you look at the replacement of the pump, or go down to the I can't really see those from here, but one of the consent agenda items that sounds like it's money. So not the minutes, not the
public works agreement with Brumfield Construction.
Yes. Excellent. Okay, so this is at the top of the documentation for it. It tells you all the things, what it's, a summary of what it is, but it also shows you the fiscal impact. So that's how much it's costing. If you scroll down a little bit, there should be a fiscal impact. Oops, maybe you went past it.
Contractor services, time and completion, compensation.
Just actually above that. It should be in the main header.
The main header, okay.
Yeah, it should be.
Oh, the mitigation, Brumfield, the recommended motion, the amount of $207,698. Ooh, that's a lot.
Yeah. And this was one that if it doesn't go out for bid, they have to fill out another form. And so if you scroll down, you can see if this was put out for bid or if it was a sole contractor award. A lot of times, like, I get the sense, like for the pumps and stuff, they're using such specialized equipment that there's only one contractor. And so, and honestly, I totally trust our public works experts in finding the best deals for these. I don't know, but for one of these, I think it was, I wish I remember, but one of these that actually has the bids for the contract, and you can see who bid what, and they did take the low contract bid. Maybe was this it? Like I said, I'll be more prepared.
And to be fair, low doesn't always mean the best, right?
Right.
And this is where you were saying it's an independent contractor.
Well, there's a sole contractor part too. Actually, let me see if I can just pull it up to here.
This talks about the contractor's duties.
Yeah, so there's
Claims.
a lot of detail in there. If you're wondering, wow, why are we paying $100,000 for this new pump? There's a lot of details for it. So, anyways, I just wanted to show that and say if people want to dig into it and look at kind of how are people putting in bids and what's going on with that. There's more detail there, but I don't want to spend a whole lot of time there because, as I said, I pretty much I trust our engineering experts and our water experts and all those people in city government, and assume that if there's something going wrong there, that somebody in there will mention it. So, all right, moving on to the more interesting stuff, in my opinion. Not that stuff isn't interesting. Our water is obviously important and all that. But if you go to, if you could bring up the public comments section now, and before you start that, do you have the link? That has the link for that next. So what I want to play for next is the public comment period, because I think we should highlight what people are saying and kind of, but before we go into that, I just want to give a little background into one of the dramas that's playing out at these comment periods. And that is that there is at least one person out there who is still very upset about getting rid of it. So the city council got rid of the Pledge of Allegiance and they got rid of the invocation. Both, I agree with both those moves, especially
what's
the
invocation.
The prayer.
For those of us that don't.
The prayer.
What was the prayer?
I don't remember what the prayer was, but they got rid of the prayer part and they got rid of the pledge part. But there's a woman person that keeps calling in and raising their objection to that, which that's their right. But Quinn Dennehy has been really forcefully, verbally, I don't know. He's been really pushing back on that. And so they've been having this ongoing conversation that I just think is interesting about what is freedom. And that it all there's kind of a theme to this, all this today. It's like freedom and freedom for who and and some class aspects, which I hope we can get into. Can we get into class stuff here?
Oh, yes. There's really not too many, third rail issues here.
Yeah. So yeah, so do you have that link there? Yeah, you can play the comments and I'll set up.
All right, so that's loading here. And again, subscribe to the channel so that you can follow all of that goodness as it comes up here.
I have to press play.
Oh no, I need to get it to the other screen
first. Why am I telling you? Why am I?
And so this is one of the loves about the Mac. So you're supposed to just go to the top, and it gives you another drop down, but it doesn't like to do it all the time. And so I literally need to pull this over, but I can't pull it over until I minimize everything else. So it's just one of those joyful Mac things. But there's always more than one way to skin a cat. So, you just pick the tab and find out which one it is. You go that way. So Liz, as we're pulling this up, any thoughts so far of what Jeff has been kind of sharing there?
Not really. I mean, spending time in Missouri, I know how they make cultural issues more of an issue. It's like we need to get beyond that. That way we can have the discussion about what's bigger. It's almost like you want to say we're past that already. We're past that. So it's like let's get past that and really get to helping people. Why are we arguing about a Pledge of Allegiance when it's been changed so many times to appease and to fear? It's like we had the Red Scare. We changed it. We changed the Pledge of Allegiance with World War II, the way it was done with the rise of fascism. So it's like, we're past that. Let's get to really the issues of do. If we're arguing about this, we're not going to do. So let's get to doing.
I hear what you're saying on that. I guess my only input on that is, I think some of the issues are important, and they're clearly not resolved. And
right.
she's one person who is, the tall blade of grass gets whacked, type thing. But I think the opponents of all positions tend to say that, right? Like, there's more important things. Let's deal with homelessness and not racism. It's identity politics. It's this and it's that. It's like, no, these are issues too. Those are conversations that Mark and I have all the time. It's like, so people are all coming together and trying to find out, okay, so what is it that we all agree on that needs to be worked on? We may have our separate things like, abortion or racism or, LGBTQ or whatever those things may be. That's going to divide us. But what are some things that we can come together on, like food for all or, housing and things like that, and then have those conversations? The challenge still becomes, well, what's the priority there, right? Is it housing before food? Is it, food before jobs? Like, so there still ends up being this challenge here, and that's pretty difficult. So I don't know how to get to the point where we can kind of sort through those things and make some progress there. All right, so let's get into this video.
Oh wait, I think that's towards the end, isn't it? Is that you might need to rewind it. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. They added a new timer, which I think is great. But I think people are speaking a lot longer now because of it. They're like, "Oh, I still got."
Because I got 3 minutes.
Yeah. But I like the time clock. I thought that was a good addition.
Yeah, I'm not hearing any of it.
Oh, you're not hearing
the problem with the city council now.
They're not hearing it.
I'll just add subtitles now.
Oh. She said she can't hear it.
I can hear it, but
She can hear it.
Liz, you could not hear it still? Liz, are you hearing that?
What's that?
Are you hearing that?
Not already on tonight's agenda, please raise your hand to be recognized. We only ask that you state your name for use in the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less.
Now you can?
We are using a new timer system so that as everyone is treated fairly. With that, I open public recognition. And first it will be M. Stern. Oh, well, okay. Yes. Wesley Stern.
We're not the only ones that have technical difficulties.
Did you skip the person before me?
Well, I don't. The name was the same. I don't know what happened. They put their hand down. So let's just go.
Okay. So I live over by Evergreen Park, and there's been an issue with a dumpster that was located in the south end of the park that has been moved to the main parking lot in the park. And it's obstructing views of the park and the water for a lot of the residents on the street. And it's also really unsightly. And we've been requesting that it be moved. So we've lived here for about 8 years now. And when we moved here, Patty Lent was in office. And first there was beautiful rose bushes that were removed to make more parking access. Then they removed some more roses and other bushes in order to, I think, make it easier to clean up around them. When we asked if they were ever going to replace them, they said that they would, but nothing's been replaced. They removed the maple trees in the park, and we sent an email asking about what they plan to do in place of the maple trees that were really beautiful in line the park. They said they had no ideas, and then it's been about a year now and nothing's been planted. So the dumpster is just the latest in the oh yeah, and also they planted trees in the parking lot that obscure the view for all the people on Park Ave of the water. And when we asked about those and if there could be something done with them so that they didn't obstruct the view as much, there was never a response. But we've just kind of watched the quality of the park decline over the years, and the dumpster is just kind of the latest thing. And it's directly out front of our home, and it now is in the spot that we had a water view of, and now it's just trees and a dumpster. I'm not quite sure how come it moved from its original location, but it's just been kind of a struggle for everybody here, and we just don't appreciate seeing it. We also have an issue just with the fact that when we talked about it with the city, the response was that they didn't like the illegal dumping and graffiti on it on the other side of the park. But the reason our part of the park is nicer is because we do neighborhood watches, and we all as a community keep an eye on the park. And so I really think that we've now been tasked with being the people that report any suspicious behavior at the park, or go out there and talk to them ourselves and tell them that it's not okay. And it's just kind of asking a lot and taking advantage of the people who have worked really hard to keep this section of the park nice.
All right, thank you. So I know that Parks, the mayor, and your council member are all here and heard your comments, and I'm sure I assume somebody's got your email address, and we'll see what we can get answers for you and figure out what happened there. Okay, up next, Mary Lou Long.
This is the one I was talking about with Quinn, and watch Quinn's reactions throughout this. They're always...
Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Mary Lou Long, as you already know, and I'd like to say a little bit about what we just celebrated, July the 4th. As we've just celebrated our independence from Great Britain, formerly under the rule of a king, I'd like to share my thoughts on our flag and its importance. What the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance means to me. History tells us that after a long and costly struggle for independence from King George, our ancestors, desiring freedom from his rule, created a three-tiered form of government, distinguishing it from a monarchy. Through a brutal fight, a war that took many lives, our nation was born. We are the recipients of a democratic republic. This form of government never existed before. True representative government. It provides the people with self-rule as opposed to tyrannical, despotic dictates from kings, as in most civilizations past. The representatives selected by the people are supposed to honorably and respectfully represent all. Our flag has gone through changes in its design since its first form, but the meaning and what it represents remains the same. The flag signals and represents a unified people holding mutual goals and values, those being life, liberty, and justice for all. These are inalienable rights bestowed innately, given at birth by our Creator, God, not men. This truth is essential to sustaining this form of government. The wisdom of our founders designed this government with checks and balances to keep it from falling back into tyrants' control. The Pledge of Allegiance is an outward sign to each other of our commitment to our shared values. I think if you study our history and our flag's inspiration, especially during difficult times, you may come to respect and support what it stands for. Each opportunity to recite this pledge in public is your signal to others who cherish all the meanings of what America is and has given you and me. With that said, I now ask you to pledge your allegiance to our country for all it is and will continue to be. I'm standing now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America. God bless our elected representatives. And hopefully you'll be enlightened and inspired by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Up next, M. Stern. I don't know what happened earlier, so
Did you want me to keep playing the comments?
Yeah, go for
Okay.
it. There's only one more.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to start the show with all the comments, in case people didn't see it.
Hello, my name is Melissa Stern.
Yep, go ahead.
I to echo the concerns from the Evergreen Park neighborhood about the placement of the dumpster. The neighborhood as a whole thought that it was just here for the June 25th fireworks show and maybe through July 4th. But then we learned from park staff that it was going to be permanent. And I also want to echo some of the frustrations that the neighborhood has had with some of the changes that have been made. While the redevelopment of the park has in general been wonderful, for some of the residents, some of the things that did make it wonderful have been taken out. For example, the rose garden that was replaced with a parking lot. I also was in communication with Mayor Lent about that. She assured me that there would be lots of trees and plantings to replace those. A couple years later, I ended up contacting her because those trees and plantings have actually completely obscured the water view from my home, except for a tiny sliver of water that they don't touch quite yet. You can still see. Roses were removed from the walkway entrance of the parks, and we were told that there'd be new plantings. A year went by, and I was the one that had to email parks and ask, are we going to replace those? I was told, no, it's actually grass. Another 6 months went by. I said, hey, they're just dead weed patches at this point. Are you going to plant the grass? And finally, grass was planted. Same thing happened with the maple trees. They took down all the beautiful maple trees and said they were going to replace them. Almost a year went by, asked, hey, are we going to replace those? What's the plan? I was told that there's not a plan, but we're taking suggestions. It's been another 6 months since then. There's still no trees along the street. And now we had a dumpster 50 yards from our front door. The main view out of the biggest window in our home. And when I talked to park staff, they told me they were responding to illegal dumping on the other side of the park. I expressed concerns to my council representative, that just because our side of the park is nice is because we work really hard to keep it nice. It's not our responsibility to monitor the city's dumpsters. So their response was actually to move it today. And you'll never guess where they put it. The tiny sliver of water that we can see from our home between the trees that Miss Land planted is now a dumpster. So I respectfully request that be put back where it came from. It's causing a lot of problems. It's unsightly, it's ugly. It's not preventing illegal dumping here. We've watched U-Haul trucks pull up and break into it. Staff from Park said that someone picked the lock the other night. So it's not really solving any problems having it here, at least for the community. So I respectfully request that we move the dumpster back to where it came. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so yeah, those are the comments. And now, before we move on with garbage and all the issues surrounding trash cans, which I really want to get into, go ahead and play Dennehy's comments, because I think it's good just to keep the continuity of that conversation. Yeah, I just and he makes some interest. Anyways, I won't speak for him. I'll let you watch it.
A little bit about the speakers.
Oh, you might have
public comment. I think that one of the speakers that spoke during public comment. I think that there was an amazing, succinct presentation about why we celebrate the 4th of July in America. And this year, I really didn't. I think that there is a very existential threat to America. And I spent the weekend watching the January 6th hearings. And the only thing I'm going to say without getting too political is if you truly believe in the ideals of America, of a free democracy, and not being ruled by tyrants, which I believe most people who are interested in local government do believe, it is your patriotic duty to watch these hearings. I'm a very informed person. I read a lot of news outlets. And what a bipartisan group was able to do was show some extremely terrifying, appalling behavior where our democracy was almost lost. And it's just the beginning. So I appreciate the comments from this person that keeps coming. I would encourage them to, again, look inward and look at what real tyrant and existential threats to this democracy are. And then I will be happily pledging allegiance to the flag that is flying on my house and has been for at least a year. So thank you.
Okay, so that's the pledge drama. I thought it was an interesting way that so this woman really wants to recite the pledge, so she's been calling in every time and using her time to recite the pledge, and I'm like, all right, that makes sense. Maybe that is a good compromise. I don't know, but anyways, I'm not going to get too much into that whole debate. But
well, I guess she gets her 3 minutes, right? I mean,
yeah,
technically,
yeah. So to move into the garbage, I want to talk about the tale of two dumpsters. And so, how do I bring up that picture? What do you think?
All right, so go to your, yep, there you go, and now you can do that, and now you're gonna go to Chrome tab.
Oh,
and that link is. Share. There you go. Now you gotta go back to Restream. Oh, I can do it on my side. Let me see if I can share it. Now I can control it.
okay. So, you're gonna bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, as you heard with the public comments, there was a big issue in Evergreen Park, and what you can see is the dumpster they're complaining about on the bottom there. This was posted in one of the local groups, and it's the whole question of us aesthetics, right? Oh, this is ruining our views. We just don't like having a dumpster, cluttering up our beauty in our parks. And what's interesting to me is that the same week, a bunch of us were just really pushing to get a garbage can on MLK Boulevard, on MLK Way, Martin Luther King Way. It's been a constant battle. I've been asking them to put out garbage cans for years now. I'm not the only one. And so last week we thought, they dropped off, and you can see the picture on the right up at the top there. They dropped off a trash can, and the people in that neighborhood were like ecstatic. They were like, "Oh, thank God! We're being treated as humans, and we have a place to put our garbage." Well, that was pretty. That didn't last long, because the next day, as you can see on the left, they put on this crazy contraption thing that makes it impossible to get any trash into the garbage can. And so once again, denying people their basic humanity of having someplace to put their garbage. This is a basic human service. And the other issue that came up to me about this garbage is that this dumping that's happening all over the place. The Evergreen people were mentioning it. You put out a garbage can and people start dumping stuff. This week, by the Salvation Army, again on MLK Boulevard, people dropped off a couch and sofa. Surely the poor want these couch and sofa, right? And then people are like, well, look at how trashy they are. They're just dumping trash over in this neighborhood. And, apparently they're dumping couches and sofas back in Evergreen neighborhood. But so what does that say about our city? That people can't afford to dispose of their garbage in the right way. Maybe the city should step in and make that a little more easy for people to handle. And there's been all sorts of troubles with our garbage. There was that period where their machines broke. And I don't know that much about the garbage here. I've lived in other cities where the city actually ran the garbage, and it seemed to be much better. Again, one of the cities or areas that I always go back to as a good example of the community actually dealing with this is Montgomery, Maryland. They have their own garbage system, and you don't see garbage anywhere. It's actually considered a city service.
Let me jump in there because there was something really interesting that you said, and we know that behavior can be taught and socialized, right? So there are no dumpsters. So where are people going to put their trash? Just wherever, right? You advocate for the dumpsters. You bring the dumpsters, then you lock them down. They can't put it in the trash, and then you blame them for not picking them after themselves. So it's like, so whose fault is this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then so it's just we find it different ways to blame the victims for the issues.
Right. And garbage just seems to be such a basic issue. It's like one of the things that if you have a society and you're generating garbage, you put out garbage cans. I mean, in any other event. So, okay, we're talking about a place on ML King Way that constantly, as long as I've lived there for the last 4 years, and as long than that, there's always been people congregating. That's a neighborhood. That's a group of people who congregate there regularly. But any other group of people congregating, they put out the toilet, they put out the porta potties, they put out the garbage cans, they put out everything. These people, they're not viewed as people. The city considers them vagrants, and they consider them animals. And if you allow them to be content and treat them as human beings, that they're afraid that they won't go away. Well, you know what? They're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. But anyways, that's my 2 cents on the garbage.
Let's jump in there. You're seeing the
I
photos.
certainly sensed that when the second woman was talking. I just sensed this, like, I'm sorry, lack of a better word, entitlement, and the sense of I need to see the water. There's a local in my neighborhood. There's a truck that the bumper sticker says the trees are the view, and I just thought of that. And here we are on MLK. We're fighting for a dumpster, and they're complaining about a dumpster. And I'm like, again, there's such bigger issues. And I just, my heart goes out because it's just like so frustrating that they don't see the bigger picture. And it's hurtful. It's hurtful. And then seeing that lock, it's like, Marwan, what you said, we create and then victim blame. Working with young children, it's like, I've grown through times where I've seen as a teacher that I created a situation that it then escalates. And it's like, wait, I created that. And then you have to fix it. So it's like, you got to self-reflect. And the city maybe needs some self-reflection. The neighborhood there at Evergreen Park maybe needs some self-reflection. And what's important. So it was on an emotional side, I was like rolling my eyes and stuff because it was just, it triggered like an emotional response in me. But then on the practical side, it's like, okay, so let's see this, I don't know. On a practical side, it's like, I can't get to that practical side. I can't feel for Evergreen people right now. I can only feel for MLK people, So it's like, good thing you're not electing me because.
and you know what? I understand that. Like I walk in Evergreen, my daughter and we love, that's our favorite park. But it is kind of when you think about the contrast, like an embarrassment of riches, right? I want my roses and my flowers, and I don't want it to be dirty. I get a dumpster, but I don't really want the dumpster here. It's like, it's like
I'll park my car in front of the dumpster if they don't want to see the dumpster.
Yeah, it's interesting, and not to say that that's not valid, right? We're not discounting what they're saying is important, but priorities are important too. So, and the humanity of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it goes again. It goes to the class issue. There are two it seems to me there are two different Bremertons. Who was one of the candidates? Edwards, I think, or somebody said there, two Americas, and I think I'm just seeing that here so much that you have a voting class, property. We really are living under a system that is ruled by property owners still in Bremerton, and so you have the group that votes, and they all own property, and then you have a much larger group of people who don't own property and are poor and do not vote. And there's many systemic reasons for that, especially in Bremerton that I've seen. Um, and so this is what you get. You get one class of people getting, oh my God, let's pay attention to your aesthetics. Let's more green space. Different priorities. Whereas the poor people in our city are worried about whatever, taking care of the houses so that they don't get declared a zombie property. Looking for bathrooms where every door is locked. That's just the difference right here in our city. To me, is just something we can do about it. I think it shocks me. So.
When you talk about bathrooms, as you're ready to move on to the next topic, when we were doing the barbecue yesterday on MLK, listening, I didn't know that if you were kicked out of Sally's, right, you're not able to use the bathroom. 7-Eleven, I do not believe allows folks to use the bathroom. Marvin Williams Center doesn't allow folks to use the bathroom. So where are these folks supposed to use the restroom? And then if they use the restroom in public, they can get an indecent exposure ticket.
Right.
So again, these things are in place where it's like it's designed for you to fail. There's no way for you to succeed on the smallest of levels.
Yeah, and on that note alone, I mean, the barbecue was so amazing. People were so happy. We were having hot dogs and hamburgers, and I was wandering home, and I stopped on the hill. So there's a square of property that's between the Marvin Williams Center and South Court Apartments where I live, and that area has been a battleground with the poor. The people assume that the Marvin Williams Center own it. Apparently, they do too. But it's not. But anyway, so I was out there. So I went out there, and there were a bunch of people sitting on the hill. A little backstory to this too. So there were these beautiful trees giving great shade on this little hill, and it was like an oasis for people. Then last year, when we got that 110, whatever, that crazy 110 degree heat, a few days before that hit, somebody went in and cut off all the limbs of that tree. Took away all the shade for the people, just really to say, we don't want you here. We're going to take away your shade. Well, anyway, so I was walking back from the barbecue the other day because I didn't cut off all the trees. And so these people were sitting out, my friends were sitting out in the shade, in a little spot of shade. And I walked up and I said, they can take away the shade, but God's got different plans. Gotta bring back this. Anyways, and I'm not a religious person, but so I sat down and we were talking about the crazy bomber plane flying around all the time and what that could be, and talking about neighborhood stuff and just having a good time. And I was laying back on the grass looking up at the clouds, but then I had to go. The minute I left, the Marvin Williams people came over and ran everybody off and said, "This is private property. Get off or you're all arrested."
Oh, wow.
And so I got a call from my friend saying, yeah, apparently, you missed the guest getting run off. And I was like, that is just, it's sad, it was unnecessary. It's, anyway, so that's on that.
And so you mentioned earlier, do they own the property or not?
They do not. It's a LLC called Scarlet Properties or something, but more on that later. I'm gonna. I think there's. And okay, well, they're an LLC that's owned by a very wealthy family in Los Angeles that live in this beautiful condo in Santa Monica. They have a film business. They're part of the film industry, so they're like have some fame, and they're just they bought the property and they haven't put anything into any of these properties really. other than tear down the trees. But Southcore, I can tell you, they're now putting a whole lot of money into that property. But like any outside landlord that is buying up property in Bremerton right now, it's not about what you're doing with the land. It's about just sitting on the land and letting it rise in value, because our land is being traded as a commodity throughout the world now. And so that property has gone, in the time that I've lived there, I've had my rent increase from $800 to $1,200 a month. And the value of that property has gone from $1 million to $4 million now, I think is what I saw.
Wow.
And so that's another big part of the housing problem, is investors coming in and really scooping up our land cheap and really just sitting on it, waiting for it to do its magic on the marketplace, right? But anyways, I think I'm getting off topic.
Oh no, it's all right, because I mean it still goes to the issue of, well, I mean, one, this is a natural space, which I don't know if this Scarlet LLC has empowered Marvin Williams to oversee
Right.
that space or not. But yeah, you're just talking about this little grassy hill, which is on the sidewalk side. So there's, if you look at it, you can see the parking lot of the Marvin Williams Center, and the grass is level with the parking lot, but then there's a slope, and where people were kind of laying down or on the slope, right? So you almost really can't see them from the parking lot area as you're kind of walking in and out of the building. I mean, of course, you wouldn't want to see them, right? Who wants to look at that? I'm being facetious. But folks are there, and there's gonna be trash, right? Because they're eating, or whatever the case may be. But there's no garbage can, so there's no place to dump it. You don't care about me. Why should I walk 4 blocks to a garbage can in front of an establishment that I can't use the restroom in anyway? Just very bizarre how we try to go about solving these issues. And you talk about cutting down the trees to get rid of the shade. I mean, benches with the arm handles in the middle so folks can't lay out. I mean, just really designing all these anti-human, ways to push the migration of folks into other areas. It's ridiculous. Instead of answering the
Right.
question, right, solving the actual problem.
Right. It's cruel. It's just unnecessary cruelty, in my opinion.
So what you got next?
Okay, fireworks. Oh my goodness, this town and fireworks. It's the first time I've lived in I think anywhere that has legal fireworks, and yeah, I'll admit it's crazy here, man. For 3 or 4 days, it's like nuts. But I kind of like it. I understand that it really. But anyways, apparently every year, it becomes a big thing with the city council. Every year, this whole city, you have some people that are saying, "Oh, these fireworks, they gotta go! They gotta go! It's my dogs! It's the veterans! This is the only time." I want to talk to some real veterans organizations and see if they're like, because that's the only time I hear that. Well, I'm not gonna say that. That was nasty. But it's interesting. So, and 40, from what I understand, 40 people called in and made about 2 complaints each. So for 80 complaints, 40 people called in, and to me, this is like a core issue, like of being a city. So when is it appropriate to take away someone's rights? And essentially, that's what you're saying. You're saying, I want to take away someone's right to explode stuff in the air or whatever. And in my opinion, I think it should be an overwhelming majority if you're going to take away. We should all agree that we're going to give up that right. Ideally, it should be all of us saying, yes, I agree to give up that right to do fireworks. And we can watch this. So I have the whole. So okay, so that was just, it was brought up in city council meeting, but then it was also really talked about in depth at the safety committee, and all these videos are posted on that site. Where to start with that? So it's about a half-hour discussion. I was gonna. It's probably worth watching, and so I don't know what you want to do with that. But
is there a way that you can cut it down just a little?
Well, I can give you my my teaser short reel.
Ooh, I like teaser short reels. How exciting!
Which is the second link. Do you see the second link here?
Trailer.
You get to that?
Yeah, the trailer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you
actually, you know what? I take it back. Let's just watch the first part of the entire thing because I think Denise kind of leaves. Denise.
Yeah, just scroll down and play it. Oh, actually, no. Let me do it on my side because your audio.
Okay.
Make all kinds of issues.
So yeah, I would just play the first part. It was a really good discussion, so I would urge people to actually go in and watch that discussion. There are a lot of different aspects to it that I hadn't thought about, and I have to say I kind of come down with of all the city council members and what I heard, I have to go with Quinn Dennehy on this one because my interpretation of his take on this was that if why take people's rights away if you don't have to, and also but I will let him do that. And by the way, I have all the full comments from each of the city council members, so you can go in and see what all of them have to say. Now, while you're setting that up, I'll say that everybody seemed to agree that Councilmember Younger summed it up that there are three options. There is heavier enforcement of what we're doing now. There's enacting a complete ban on fireworks. And there's putting up a vote. That's what he said the three options were. I think he's missing one obvious big option, but
ooh, I can't wait to hear that one. Tell us after the video.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, what's the fourth option?
On Halverson up here, and it did feel somewhat at times like a war zone. Pretty loud. These aren't sparklers that are going. And I really appreciated Councilmember Younger's kind of bottom line in our meeting this last week, and he said you got three options, right? And you enforce, you ban, or you put it on the ballot. And I guess my bottom line is I'm not a girl that likes to go either or. I don't want you to stop responding to domestic violence, to go to a fireworks call, but I do want those I want something to be done. We're a large city. We have city services. Our citizens, have a right to a certain amount of expectation of enforcement. And I'm wondering, I was also reminded that this is the mayor's purview, of course, but I do believe council can set priorities, and we can strongly suggest that instead of no response to a complaint, and my pets don't suffer, but there are tons of them that do. My main thing are Desert Storm and other combat veterans who are triggered, with explosions. Do they know it's the 4th of July and all that? Yeah. But it just in my
can people post
integrity,
questions too? Or?
It's like we've got something on the books. This is not supposed to be okay. It's having a negative impact on our citizens, but we can't do anything about it. And so there must be some creative solution. Does an armed law enforcement officer, and boy, with the complaints that you were talking about this 4th of July, they were assaults, they were this, it might have started as fireworks. I know all too well what can explode at one of your scenes, and I'm not talking about fireworks. And yet, I just heard one go off. Oh, that's great.
Okay, we can probably stop. We can stop it there.
Put it on the website. I should, yeah.
What does he mean by that?
By which?
Other things exploding, but I won't.
Well, she's mentioning that. Well, she's talking about and the chief of police will, when we get to his quote, he kind of gets into this too. And I think what she was speaking to is the fact that we don't want to put police in unnecessary dangerous situations because they walk into situations. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what she was saying there, but interesting to me is, again, going back to the whole class issue of two separate Bremertons. Uh, I see a very willingness to say, well, let's just crack down on laws. Let's just crack down on laws and do more law enforcement. And I think that's kind of where everybody the mayor actually leans in and says he wants a complete ban. He wants to take the gloves off his law enforcement people and let them go out there and start enforcing this stuff. But who gets hit by that? I'll tell you who gets hit by that. It's the poor. We talk about participation, and this is one of the ways that systematically poor people are pushed out of the political process. Is they get these small tickets for things that they can't afford to pay, and then they can't make it to court, and then they get another fine, and then they get another failure to appear court, and they get all the stuff that essentially leads right to jail. If somebody wants to put them in jail, it makes a nice little and the police chief has been doing that down. And so when you hear him, I'll play his. Well, I'll leave that to a minute after he says what he says. But I think it's easy for some people to say, let's do an enforcement when they're the ones that are paying the police and giving the orders to the police. When they're the person being enforced upon, I think that needs to have more of a voice in our city council.
I did hear him say, the mayor, to be fair, tell me if I heard it wrong, he was saying that there would be an equity issue in the policing of it, right? So going to apartment complexes, because that's like the low hanging fruit.
Let's play the next chip. That's what the next clip gets in with.
Okay.
Yes, I definitely want to talk about that.
So I thought that was a fair statement by him.
Yeah, I think it's a selective use of that statement in him.
Is it just this one right below it?
Yes.
And when I was originally airing this last week, I thought, this is kind of a boring one. Then you and I were talking, like, oh no, it's actually super exciting.
That's my political science civic interest coming, but it's just a core issue, because as the more people you get together, the more people oh my god, that person's cooking stuff I don't like, that guy's setting up bombs, and it's part of being like a society. And like, people think they live in the rural area where I just don't want to see anybody or hear anything you're saying, and sorry, those days are gone, folks. I mean, you move to Kitsap County, you're just sitting in prettier traffic. That's it.
It's more trees.
Yeah.
And you want me to answer that right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I will go ahead and address this now, even though Mr. Dennehy has his hand up. But my biggest concern is the spaces where it's very obvious on public parks and in schools. So, and I am in agreement about a campaign, an educational campaign. And this will be a standing agenda item. I'm making that commitment now through Public Safety Committee, that every month when we come back together, we're going to ask for a little bit of a discussion about it. Like next month, as this is part of our standing agenda item, we'll want to know what the CENTCOM data is.
They're determined to take care of this fireworks problem once and for all this year.
And you're right. Why is
every month, right?
You're absolutely right about both sides of the point. My biggest concern is the areas where it's very clear and very obvious.
This is kind of what I was thinking was going to be the discussion. So in the bigger discussion that we just had the last 2 years about law enforcement nationwide, one of the biggest pushes, and especially our state legislators, and I don't know if you agree with them or disagree with them, but our state legislators made it very clear that we don't want law enforcement doing minor things.
Right. I get
because
that.
it leads to negative impacts with citizens. Now, who
Yes.
are the people using the parks to light off fireworks in general? It's our lower income, and I'll let you decide whether it's minority or not minority, but there's a socioeconomic gap in two groups. So what I hear you saying, and I think we'll get blown up on this, absolutely, is, well, enforce it on this group of people, but the people that live on Marine Drive, on the water, that have the big...
I'm calling BS. I am calling BS on that, okay?
Okay, so and I'm not speaking to, I think Jennifer's, I don't know, because it really is calling for selective enforcement, and for someone who talks about being justice involved, asking for more police enforcement, I don't get it, but it's exactly right. You know, this is okay, and the other, so yes, so we've had this push statewide in terms of law enforcement. Don't put your law enforcement into, get away from doing what I just mentioned as a systematic way of getting people out of the political process by ticketing them for minor stuff over and over again. People are getting ticked off, and it's leading to people getting shot, and it's all this stuff because it's very, you know, it's a minor ticket, but it's pushing people towards jail. And so when the police chief and the mayor say, you know, so we don't want to get involved with that stuff because we don't want to, you know, that's not what the police should be involved with, is these minor disputes. This is the same police chief that has his police force giving out tickets to homeless people for setting down their tents. They've been getting tickets for illegal storage downtown.
Illegal storage?
Yeah, illegal storage. And I can show you the tickets. He's got bike patrols going through and hassling people for whatever it is, just constantly downtown. That's the purpose of the bike patrol, by the way. It's you know, it's the old stop and frisk and, you know, get people the heck out of here. So again, it's a class thing. You know, we don't want to get into the fireworks issue because that's getting into people's personal business. Well, it's a certain segment of the population's personal business, really, that he's worried about. It's not the poor people, and I just thought that was so hypocritical when I heard him say that. Because I'm agreeing with him. I'm like, yes, that's, thank God the police are doing. Then I'm thinking, well, that doesn't square at all with how he's treating poor people. So yes on that. And
let's jump in there. What's your thoughts on this firework situation?
Yeah, I see it as, I mean, I see it as an equity issue more than anything, because enforcing it isn't going to be the private residences that are buying a whole bunch of fireworks and going into the night. It's going to be the parks and the parking lots, and where people who live in densely populated areas are going to be. I've lived in areas where fireworks are limited to like 6 feet high. Illegal fireworks.
6 feet high?
Yeah, 6 feet high. Fireworks
what
can only
firework is that? A sparkler?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, that's LA and Orange County. That's like wee. and so there's that. It's like, and I lived in areas where everything goes. You know, almost everything goes, but it's not densely populated. This is my first time in an area it's densely populated where everything goes. And was it annoying? Yeah. But I also see the bigger picture as, you know, this is people's livelihoods, selling fireworks certain times of the year. And it's people that have no other choices, or sometimes that's their main source of income. And again, the enforcement is not going to be, you know, those that can take care of it. It's going to be those that it's going to spiral and end up being bigger. And yeah, so for me, it's like, I don't know what the answer is. I don't think making them illegal is the answer. As much as I don't like them personally, it's like, I can cope with that. So yeah, so I think we have to dig deeper into it being an equity issue and really look at that.
So, you know, full disclosure, I absolutely hate fireworks. I hate fireworks.
You're not alone.
You know, I've been traumatized. My younger brother, or my older brother, used to modify fireworks. He's caught my pant leg on fire. He's shooting Roman candles at me. I hate fireworks. And then, I used to live up at Illahee, and every 4th of July, we had mailboxes, and mine was on the end, and an M80 always went in my mailbox, and the neighbors always brought it to my doorstep in pieces the next day. I hate fireworks, but at the same time, it doesn't bother me so much where it's like, this needs to be outlawed, this needs to be stopped. To me, I would think if you opened it up to the schools and the parks, then you can have people congregate, celebrate together. You'd have more manageable places to not police, but support, like if there was a fire that broke out, right? Because more people are all fighting, lighting their fireworks at the same time in the same area, which makes it really festive and fun. So I've had, I like watching them and seeing them. I don't really care for the loud explosions or, your house catching on fire and things like that, right? But I think that should be encouraged. It's like, hey, it's a federal holiday. You're gonna go in there. You're gonna clean it up. It is what it is. It's Independence Day. It's what we do. It's part of our cultural makeup until they take over the drones and fireworks are all drones, which is kind of bizarre and cool at the same time. But what was that fourth option? Because you said
I was
one
gonna
is
say I should
outlaw,
go to
right? Just ban it, take it to the people, and then the third one was, I can't remember what the third option was.
more heavier enforcement.
Heavy enforcement. So what's your fourth idea?
Well, the fourth option is to do nothing, right? I mean, we have to pass a law. Well, maybe no. Maybe because in my mind, I do like the idea of voting on this, but I don't think the city council needs to bother with it, because if all it takes is 2,000 people to put an initiative in out for Bremerton to get rid of fireworks. So if you can't get 2,000 signatures to get rid of fireworks, then I assume there's not that big a problem with it. But if there is 2,000 signatures, then yeah, I would say we should have a vote. And I would think that this is a reasonable way for society to go, other than saying no, let's just give our police the power to enforce more, which is too easy, I think. And related to this is the noise ordinance. They've also been talking about the noise ordinance for years, at least a couple of years now, and it's the same issue. This one, as I understand it, I'm a little fuzzy on it, but it has to do with Brother John's bar. Apparently, some neighbors bought a house, and I'm just hearing this secondhand, so I don't even know if this is true. But apparently, what I understand is these new neighbors raised heck about the noise, and so now they're like, well, how do we enforce noise ordinances? We don't have a noise ordinance, and so they've been talking about a noise ordinance for I don't know how much, and now they're still trying to get through it this year, and that's another issue that I'm like, look, wait until people come up with it takes 2,000 people to say we need a noise ordinance. Until you have that many people, then or at least put it up for a vote. I mean, I don't know.
Hey, for the loud cars and the motorcycles, I'm all for it. They're just unnecessarily loud for no reason.
Yeah, my only complaint with noise,
I
see, and this is where I go back to living in a city, and the same issue as fireworks is, if you get more people in a condensed space, you got to put up with each other more, right? You got to put up with these things. You got, the guy next door is playing bass. Well, okay, fine, but you got to talk to him. Oh, well, can you do it? I don't know. And I think that we have a tendency as a society to say, oh, I don't want to talk to my neighbors. Let's pass a law. And it's just,
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Liz? Something popped into my head while Jeff was speaking. And when we talk about equity, and what was that? Is that Tom Wolf, the sheriff, that was speaking earlier?
Yeah.
And Councilwoman Chamberlain was kind of pushing back on that. If we were to, there's already so many laws on the books. We can enforce the laws that exist. But if it was actually equitable, if you were to go and go to the rich neighborhoods and find them and ticket them first, right? One, they can pay. Two, they're also breaking the law. If you did that in all things, then maybe actual sensible, laws and ordinances could be created that would be fair and equitable for everyone, because they get hit last if they get hit at all, right? So hey, you know what? There's drugs and alcohol at every frat and sorority house, right? But you can't, ruin their lives. They've got their whole life ahead of them, but you can go and, camp out at different locations and wait for them to pull off and give folks tickets at the low income bars and places like that. It's like, so where drug and alcohol use is, but you're only going to go and enforce it in certain places. So, from an equity standpoint, if you went there first and then you started policing everyone the same way, things might change and everyone could start seeing it, through the exact same lens.
And I think that idea of providing a safe space for fireworks for neighborhoods that don't have a safe space is a great idea, because we have these big empty spaces. We have, the school parking lots and such. And if fire department and such were there, not to enforce, but to support, and that's the difference, then they would build relationships and neighbors get to know each other, and it wouldn't be a threatening thing. It would be like, oh, we're coming together. A block party for people that don't have a block, So, yeah.
Well, that's exactly what it is, right? So you have a lot of low income families that can't afford $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of fireworks, but they go to the school, they go to the park, and now all the other folks are there lighting off fireworks, and the kids are appreciating all of it, right? They'll go start talking with other kids. The kids will share and let them light off a few, and it does make it this kind of a community event. So yeah, I think they should have a conversation about leaning more into that aspect of it. And then maybe you say, okay, well, we can enforce the hours of when we're going to do it, but this is where it's going to be, so you support it, right? It's like, so you don't like that, but you've got, who puts on the one that happens on Manette? Who's doing that?
I think that's, I don't know, the city council, or not the. I think that's
is
the
it
city?
a Manette businesses or?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But that's okay, right? They can do their big, huge fireworks show and shut down the bridge and do all these things.
Yeah,
and it's not even 4th of July, right?
Yeah. No, it was the week before.
Right. Like, so, but that's okay. Just saying.
So a couple of things that I should say, I think that are important parts of this issue is, one is the fire hazards. And so that, to me, like, okay, is there a fire? But they were all, it sounded like they were only like 3 or 4 minor fires. The other thing would be injuries. Are a lot of people getting injured, but there were no injuries this whole year. So,
wow, that's impressive.
But those are both, I think, legitimate kind of public concerns. Yeah, I'm surprised nobody got hurt either with all what I was hearing. Seems like somebody's always getting hurt. Anyways, so should we move on?
Yeah.
All right.
What you got next?
We got next is.
Let me get some water.
And let me see. How did I share this before?
You can just hit that switch there, like that. You sit at the bottom. Oh, I got it. I shared it for you.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Okay, so they had a big discussion on.
Yeah, just find your whatever the link was there.
Where was I? Oops. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, so under general business is where they discuss things and they vote on them. Although I don't think they voted on this particular. Sometimes they just, this is just a general, put on the general docket or business or general agenda to be discussed by the public. And so there was this long presentation, which is also posted on the website that we showed you. I posted the presentation and also the council discussion about this. But anyway, so CDBG is, oh shoot, what does that stand for? Oh my goodness, Capital Development Block Grants, something. Community Development Block Grants. Community Development Block Grants. Okay, so. And apparently there's a whole bunch. I went to their if you go to their website, and here I can maybe share that. Actually, can you see those? Anyways, there's the CDBG info is here. If I click on that, does it switch to that? No. Okay.
Oh, you gotta. Yeah, you have to switch back and share that particular tab now.
That's okay. Anyways, there are all these programs that it sounds like the cities can like match funds with or sign up for, or and so like the CDBG, they have a funding estimate of 400,000 for CDBG to do capital projects which can demonstrate a low to moderate income benefit, either through clientele or area-wide benefit, public facility and public infrastructure projects which support, preserve, or develop units of affordable housing, economic development projects and programs. I think this is where so the only thing I've been able to find in the budget at all for housing is this weatherization, $100,000 for weatherization, that they always put in as this is their low-income housing efforts at the city, and I think that's tied to this CDBG, and then they get matching funds. But on the other side, so they have things like, but eligible projects could include acquisition, rehabilitation, or construction of affordable rental housing. We're not doing any of that. Construction of new rental units. The city can actually get grants to build new rental units, and downtown payment assistance for income eligible home buyers. So I don't know, and I tried to research this, and then I came to the conclusion that this is where the city needs an expert in this. We need an expert or a department that is actually looking at this and say, how can we what are the most funds we can get to tackle affordable housing and low income housing? And I just don't know if that's being done right now. One of the things that, and this is to me, to kind of segue a little bit, is and how do I share? Okay, I do want to kind of share.
Is it a video?
No, this is just a flyer. So how do I share that?
So now go back into Restream, and then what you're going to do is hit the up arrow.
Hit the up arrow again.
And then you're going to change it to the one you want. There you go. Now pick which one you want. There you go.
Okay.
I'm just going to make it visible again. Boom.
You see that?
Yep. So this is live.
Yeah.
That's like a 6-second delay.
Okay, so Seattle, many of you have heard me talk about this. Seattle has a social housing initiative that they're putting on their ballot in Seattle. Again, just like we could do in Bremerton here, 2,000 signatures again. And so they have this social housing. And what it essentially is it's setting up a city department that really does focus on that. How do we leverage all these grants? How do we maybe sell some bonds? But essentially having a department that is funded and focused on housing, low-income housing, and affordable housing. And I'll just, and you can go to this. This is somehow I'll figure out how to share this link with you. But it's houseourneighbors.org. And if you go to the flyer section, that's where these are. But there's also some other good information on the media tab. But I just want to read through this just to give people a sense of what this is, because the thing I'm so excited about this is a cutting edge proposal for the whole country. This is what all the low-income housing experts say is needed. This is something that's been tried a lot of different places. Well, it has not been tried a lot of different places. It's being done in Singapore and Vienna, and basically the concept is that if you're going to have 100,000 people that need housing, build 100,000 pieces of housing. keep them owned by the city to achieve different income levels that have that housing. So I will. So what this does is Initiative 135 in Seattle would create a public developer for Seattle. Wouldn't it be cool to have a public developer in Bremerton? Led by a community governing board, the public developer can build, buy, and maintain social housing throughout Seattle, housing removed from the private market. And the thing is, okay, people say, public housing. But listen, if you own a home, the more we create public housing and the less private housing there is, the more price of your home is going to go up. You guys are going to make a fortune. Don't worry about it. Preventing homelessness and displacement. Every year, more of our neighbors are pushed into homelessness, and more Black and brown communities and low-income workers are pushed out of Seattle. True with Bremerton, too. Rents are out of control. Under social housing, tenants' rent is based on the costs of building maintenance and upkeep, services of the loan, and towards acquiring additional social housing. A wide range of housing for 0 to 120% of area median income. They're going to make sure that it's union built and green buildings, so that we build environmentally friendly buildings with our public dollars. And it's restorative solutions instead of eviction, right? It's helping people. So I just want to read this other side real quickly. The best way to describe how this would be funded is because people say, "Wow, you're going to pay for that." Well, it's going to be paid through for small. First of all, there would have to be a small grant from the city to get this started. But I don't know if y'all know this, but the finance committee just met not too long ago. I think before I started recording those. And apparently the city is sitting on like $60 million in reserves. And we're bringing in millions and millions. And so...
and it's not earmarked for anything. It's just sitting in an account.
Just
like, what
as...
am I going to do with this?
Yeah. And
Rainy day
actually,
fund.
in the meeting, they were also talking about they're going to start investing that extra money in corporate bonds, which is a big difference. Safe, I don't know, they talk about I don't know, all these different bond issues. But one of my questions for them that I have not gotten answered yet is, are we going to stick with our green philosophy and not invest in oil companies, or is this going to be us investing in oil companies? But that's a side issue. So once you form this entity, this public social housing government agency in the city, they can also issue bonds, so they can really leverage that $60 million to make a lot of homes. And it's also based on it has a lot of governing structure that really puts tenants at the top of the governing structure. Anyways, it's really cool, and I would urge people to check more into that. And so all these grants, all these things we could apply for, all these solutions out there, the state's coming with a bunch of stuff. We need I think it would help to have a professional group of people working on that full time at the city level.
So let me ask Jeff. Homelessness is a big issue, right? And there's a $60 million that's sitting here. Do you know, from listening to city council and doing our research, what are they prioritizing? What seems to be important to them?
My sense of this is that I think it's been a pretty close process with the budget. I think it's we have an authoritarian type of government here where I don't know, authoritarian, that's probably not the way to put it. We have the mayor. The mayor writes the budget, and then the city council basically signs off on it. And the mayor is following their 25-year plan. And 25 years ago, the world looked a lot different. Mm-hmm. And so some of the council members, I know Anna Mockler has mentioned it, and others have said, yeah, we should. And even I think Denise Frey also said, we should really start looking at our long-term goals and really looking at what is it, what are our goals at this point in time. And so I'm hoping that there will be more opening up of the budget process, because I would like to see that top level discussion of how much is going to social programs, and do we really need a huge chunk of our budget going to the police force? We just keep the police force's budget has doubled, I think, in the last few years. And is that what we really want to do as a community? Is really just keep doubling down on police enforcement, or do we want to start taking some other avenues? The other area, the big areas where the typical areas where the city will focus the budget is on the bread and butter issues of, again, the voting class, the people who vote and own property. So the top issues are fix those sidewalks, get rid of those potholes, make our property even more valuable. But there's really I can see very little, if anything, in the budget that is about helping lower income people in Bremerton.
All right.
And I don't know whether that's some of the things the mayor says, I feel like he doesn't think that's his responsibility, that should be up to the county to take care of the poor people. I don't know. I haven't been able to, you have to kind of piece together. There's no real question of answer of the mayor at this point.
Liz, do you have any input on that piece of it? What do you know, or have any ideas on what the city is prioritizing in regards to what they could use the $60 million for?
Yeah, I have ideas, but and it's just a drop. It's just like a drop in the bucket when it's $60 million. But it's like, if you want people off the streets, the best way to get people off the streets is to put them in housing. But it's like, in the long term, can be part of the 25-year plan. But like Jeff says, 25 years ago, we saw things differently. The world economics have changed. They made a huge shift about that time. And so it's like, okay, what could still work when that plan was in place, or when that plan was started? What do we need to look at now, so that in 25 years we're not looking at these problems still? Because you look back 25 years and it's like, oh, we're still talking about mental health issues. We're talking about medical debt. We were talking about the unhoused, So it's like, let's not have these problems 25 years from now. Let's address them now, because if those are addressed, then everybody benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't know, it's like, again, it's like, okay, redistribute where we're putting funds for the police. Do they really need to police mental health issues? Or can there be a task force for that, so that people aren't injured and it doesn't escalate? So
is that something we can ask the council individually and say, hey, there's this $60 million surplus. What's your intention, or what's your goals for how to use this money?
Well, two things on that. A lot of the city council is new, so they're really figuring out what is their role in the budget, I think. And I know that at the finance meeting, one of the staff members, and I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, but they had prepared a presentation on the budget process, and we're going to present it, but they didn't end up presenting it. And it sounded like council member Jennifer, I keep going, that guy knows Jennifer Chamberlain, Councilman Chamberlain, was going to have a kind of a private showing of that presentation. I've asked for a copy of it. I may have to go through the formal procedure, but anyways, I will try to get a copy of that to just kind of to at least see what the budget process looks like from the mayor's office point of view. Again, from the city charter point of view, the power is really with the city council. I mean, we went through that, right? So yeah, and I know that there are other members of the community that are also trying to, we just want to know a little bit more. I think more community discussion about the top level budget items is important now, I think, but there's not a big desire to have transparency and someone looking over their shoulders at city government or with the mayor's office. I think, he's like, leave it up to the professionals. We know what we're doing. You can vote me out next time. And I don't know. I think you got to watch your government more than just elections.
Well, I'll tell you, Councilman Chamberlain has been on the conduit before, and she's supposed to come on again. I saw her Juneteenth. She's like, hey,
cool.
I was trying to come back on. So I'll reach out to her, because I think that's how we get the answers to these questions, right?
Yep.
And then Anna Mockler, is it Anna or Anna?
I think it's, I don't know.
Because I've heard it both ways.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I think it's Anna. So Anna, I think, is expecting for me to reach out to her also. So I'll do that. And I'll extend an individual invitation for them to come on who was it? I think it was Jennifer that was saying if 4 more come together, then they have to like alert the press and do all this other crazy stuff. And I didn't know that.
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
It's like, hey, can you guys all come on and have a roundtable discussion? Like, no, well, not no, but this is what it would take for that to happen. It's like, oh, okay, so I'm getting quite the education on.
Yeah, and I still don't understand that. It's a rolling quorum and open meeting laws, but yeah, it's all very. I don't know. It seems like it's not. I don't know. I don't feel like it's opening up the process. I feel like it's closing down the transparency
for the sake of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we all ended up at this restaurant, and 2 of us are gonna have to leave. It's just kind of strange. So, what's your next item up for bid?
All right. Well, the next
Price
one
is Right.
The next one is I watched your when you did the live part you did of the city council meeting when they came back, the puzzlement that was on your face when they came back from the executive session was like, what? And so I do have a lot more information on that.
Thank you. I need it.
Okay, so the committee, the city council can go into executive session, what it's called, and what is that? That's a private conversation amongst the city council members. The specific reason. The reasons you can go into executive session are outlined in RCW 41 something. I don't know. A specific RCW, which I'll try to share. But okay. So I don't know how to link to the. Oh, there it is. There's the RCW.
And I'll put that RCW in the chat here.
Let's see. Can you see that, or do I need to reshare? Maybe I have to reshare. Okay, we showed this before. So executive sessions. So this is the laying out the reasons. But the thing I and this is all legal stuff. But it seems to me that it's a big enough loophole in all these reasons to drive a truck through, right? It's like I can't think of anything that they couldn't talk about and claim executive sessions. But I could be wrong on that. Again, I would love to hear the city attorney speak more to that at some point. If you can get her on, I think she'd be great. So anyway, so they went into executive session, and they were okay. They go into executive session if they're going to then act on it. So if they're going to, in this case, they voted to pay out some money to settle 2 lawsuits. They have to actually do that part in public. So that's how, I was able to see, okay, well, what was this one all about? And one of them I was able to figure out what it is, and the other one I wasn't. And I'm still looking into. But anyways, so what this was about was, oh no, where did it go? Sorry. So the first lawsuit was settled for $78,000. There we go, $78,000. And so this is from the factual background from the case, which you can then look up. It's a person versus City of Bremerton. I don't know. I feel comfortable mentioning this person's name, but I don't know. It's public record. But this person began for BPD, and so this has to do with the Bremerton Police Department. This is a lawsuit against the Bremerton Police Department. She was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, which made some of her work tasks substantially more difficult for her to perform. She alleges that during the course of her employment following her diagnosis, she was discriminated against based on her disability. Her disability was not accommodated, and she was retaliated against when she complained about the discrimination. She also alleges that she was retaliated against after she testified in a sexual harassment lawsuit against a sergeant in the BPD. So why is that private? Why is that discussion private? Why? It seems like and maybe it isn't, because I was able to dig this up, and maybe this is the lack of having a really full-time press in the city. But
share that.
Share
I
this.
can't see that one. Yeah.
Okay.
So how did you come across this info? Because maybe this was talked about in previous city council meetings, but if this was your first one that you tuned in for, it was like, hey, we're going to go into a private session for 20 minutes on these two items, and then we're going to come back. They voted and said good night. And I'm like, what's going on? You know, it seemed to be litigation, and they approved what 78,000 and change for two different lawsuits. And I'm like, okay, so what's the lawsuits about? What's going on? Like, I don't understand this. So how did you come across all of this information?
Well, for this part, I just they mentioned the name of the person that the settlement was with, so I just looked it up, did a Google search, and then the case came right up. But see, I don't. So and I understand there's a gray area, right? So if you're handling legal stuff, I just feel like the city should know if there are these harassment complaints, if there are, especially with the Bremerton Police Department, because the Bremerton Police Department, there is a history of sexual harassment. There were some lawsuits. There was a lot of stuff about Chief Wolf back with the Explorers 10 years ago. I was hoping this would come up in his when he was selected as chief of police, but unfortunately, the city council at the time decided to pull back on their transparent search for a person, and so none of these issues could be looked into. And all of these like cultural issues of the police department should have really been talked about before this chief was selected. I'm not saying he's not the right person, or if he wouldn't have been the best person, but I think these are conversations the city needs to have, and we keep hearing this coming up with the city about different harassment charges, different. We had the whole Leslie Doggs thing where she felt uncomfortable. So there's something here that probably needs to be addressed, and it kind of bothers me that these are handled in. I don't know. I'm still struggling with this executive session stuff, and so the other suit that was settled, it was a tort claim, and I don't really know what a tort claim is, but it's tort claim. I don't have the number written down here, but they gave the tort claim number, and it was for a settlement of $87,414, provided the person signed what sounds to me like a "don't say anything" kind of agreement. Interestingly, for that one, I'm guessing it involves council member Younger, because when they went around for the vote, the attorney was very pointed to say, yeah, no, he abstains, and of course he abstained from the vote, which makes me think it probably has something to do with him, right? And so then I'm thinking, wow, is this? I wonder if this settlement is for Leslie Dogg. I don't know.
So how can we find that information?
I don't know. I'm trying to find out get a copy of the tort claims, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how to find that. But again, I think we should know if there are lawsuits. I think that if organizations are repeatedly settling these things quietly, maybe that's not the best way to. I don't know. So anyway, that's the answer to the executive session this week. Like I said, last time I checked into the executive session, they were voting on whether or not to join the opioid settlement.
What is that?
There was a state settlement with the state's attorneys general and all these people to come to some sort of settlement with opioid manufacturers. And so they, in a closed door session, discussed whether they were going to join that consortium. Again, I don't know why that would be a secret discussion. And I would hope that it would have involved at least some people who were negatively affected by the opioid crisis in our city. So anyways, so that's it for my my recap of the city council.
I think that's an excellent recap. Oh, I was gonna say Liz, but Liz is not in the building. Let me grab my.
I was kind of hoping to get more questions and answers, but maybe if we do it on Sundays at noon, people will start to.
Well, yeah, we might want to look at that time because there are a lot of viewers that are in church, at that hour.
Yeah.
Now I know that it works great for Councilman Chamberlain. She likes Sundays, so that works well for her. But I think what could be really good too is maybe to re-air, at another time.
Well, they can
people won't
access
catch it
this. I
live.
can give people the link to this, right? It's recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then but you got to tell them to. So like if they don't catch it live,
Right.
most folks aren't going back to watch a
Right.
TV show that came on 2 days ago.
Right.
That's something really hot. But Liz, let's get your thoughts and perspectives there on any of the conversation today.
Oh, I think the follow-up is really good. I mean, I don't know how many people are joining or in the discussion. I feel kind of like a novice in this. So there's some things that's like, I'm just listening and learning. So yeah. So being new in the community, and this is actually my first time dipping my toe into like city council and stuff, but I realize the importance of local. So doing it.
And what you're doing is so very important. And my hope through this show, like there's so many multi-purposes to things, but to encourage younger people to learn about the process and to empower themselves to take action on different things, and also to give power to the voiceless. To give them voice and understand how these things are being made. And even if in the beginning you kind of feel like your voice doesn't matter, ultimately in the end, the person that's coming on and doing the Pledge of Allegiance, they have to sit there and listen to it every single session. So she's kind of getting her way, anyway. And then the folks with the flowers and the beautification and the dumpster, if those are the only people making comment, well, they're probably at some point going to take action on that or move it around or try to accommodate what they're doing. And so, there are so many more of us that are being affected by what's going on negatively, that if we just kind of come together and say, hey, you know what, we're going to try to speak as one voice and talk about what these issues are, we can actually also make the change. And if you notice, there's not a whole lot of people that attend city council. So it actually won't take a lot of us to start making our voices known and voices heard and applying pressure to them. So that's really my hope is, I'll say I've been here since 97. I've worked for the Navy twice in 2 different capacities, taught at Olympic College, and now, have multiple businesses here locally. And, there's a joke that you get on the ferry from Seattle and it's like a 10 to 15 year time warp. Like everyone is so slow here and very reactive and not proactive in a lot of things. And so I call it Field of Dreams. Like you have to build it for them to come. They can't envision anything. It's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe we need to have a committee and form a committee to decide whether or not we should do this or not, and it's like, what, just start doing it. Some folks will catch on and it will be helpful, and eventually it'll catch fire, or maybe it won't. But ultimately, a few people will be impacted by this. I know I'm learning, Liz. I know you're learning, so I appreciate you taking time out, Jeff. Because I mean, there's no pay for this, right? So it's like, hey, this is an exercise of labor and time and sacrifice. We could be doing fun things, whatever we consider fun. Could be sleeping, right? But yet and still, it's like, hey, I'm going to create an outline and do some research and come and share it and try to put it in a coherent space so that you can digest it and make it interesting, because edutainment is a thing. We need to be entertained while we learn things now. And so that is what it is. And, again, hopefully folks will find some empowerment through this and kind of pull the veil off the process on how these things happen. And ultimately, hey, you know what? Maybe not this session, but in 2 years from now, one of us are running for a city council. One of us are running for commissioner next time it comes up, and say, you know what? I've got some ideas. I can make a difference. and I want to do it a different way. So that is the hope for the Conduit, and particularly this show. So absolutely.
I like it. I saw a great meme, is that what you call them, the other day, saying, what makes you think you can change your national government when you can't even control your city council? I like local, and I'm for open society. The more people you have in the conversation, the better. Yes, it gets messy. Yes, it's not like maybe the most efficient way to make decisions, but it is the way to make decisions that are representative of everybody. So
yeah, well, let me add to that too. When you're thinking about decision makers and folks that you're like, okay, why can't you solve this problem? It's like, well, you don't have enough voices at the table, right? And so then the voices that haven't been at the table say, hey, well, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? We've already thought about that, but you haven't told us that you already thought about that, and you haven't given us the reasons why it doesn't work. So we can't even change our thinking on trying to find another solution. So, and then it's like, so if those things don't work and you know that, you're not telling us that, what is the idea for you to try to solve it? So bringing the voice to the table, like you said, is important, because that's where the solutions are going to be found for sure.
Absolutely. And also, I will say I'll be at Monica's this afternoon to have drinks and discuss all this important stuff. Monica's Social Club. If anybody's around.
Yeah. All right. Well, and hopefully we get some good news from that, because you're going to have a conversation down there. All right. So that is the Civic Second with the Conduit. That's the name now.
I like it.
And I don't know how you like that.
I like it. I like
A long second.
Time's not real. So
the time is relative, right?
Yeah.
So, and we will work on our technology for next week, and man, we will definitely enjoy seeing you next week for sure.
Good to see you, Liz.
Well, you got a theme song.
Oh yeah. Until next time, everyone. For Liz, Jeff, I am Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit. Have a good day, everyone. See you, Liz.